How's it going? And welcome to the Coach's Classroom, where we don't just talk ball, we teach it. My name is Scott Pellegrin, Coach Pell. And joining me today, we have a guy. He's worked all over the Baton Rouge metro area, including Catholic, Central, Springfield, Estruma, The Lawn. He is currently Denham Springs quarterbacks coach. He knows the mayor on a first name basis. And if there's not a statue at Silliman Institute, there should be my man, Coach Storm Reeves.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah. Man, I worked hard on that intro. You know, not everybody has statue level things I could say about them. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest, that was deep. It went further than I think I can think, because I'm not nearly smart enough to be at all those places.
We're just dumb football coaches.
When you're not very good, they send you around a whole bunch.
Well, you know, I mean, I have no room to talk. I mean, I've been to my fair share of stops as well. But I'm sure we'll get into all of that, man. But man, it's good to have you here. It's pretty cool to catch up. This is episode 3 of the Coach's Classroom, and right now I'll just tell everybody what we're doing. The people who do listen, I'm just talking football with my buddies. That's the goal of this. This serves as a hobby for me. I get to catch up with old friends. Although in your case, not so old. So the backstory on me and Reeves, he was our offensive coordinator my only year as head coach at Woodlawn High. So I just want to jump right into the obvious. Like how did me and you end up being, you know, like I said, we're not old buddies, we're new buddies, but how did that come to pass?
So it was one of those random days mid-spring. I got a text from a mutual friend of ours. So I happened to reach out to you at some point, and we ended up setting up an interview, and it was a Wednesday afternoon. I remember it explicitly, only because my wife won't ever let me live it down because I missed graduation. Go me. Yay. She did not.
Mine still brings up that day too, but not because I missed anything, just because it took 5 hours.
And that's what we're getting to there. That next, I think we met at 4 o'clock or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was right after school, those kind of things. For the next 4 hours, 4.5, 5, whatever it happened to be, it was like two old friends just catching up. It was unreal. I've never met somebody on a first day basis and had that much of a friendship immediately. And then heck, the rest is history. We went down the lawn routes and had a whole lot of fun.
The next time you come on this thing, we're gonna tell that story in full.
Start
to finish.
It might take multiple episodes.
Shoot, it was just 1 year, but no, man, it was true because I was actually struggling to find an OC, you know, and I had a couple of people who I had kind of lined up that I thought I had lined up turn me down for whatever reasons. They might have been the smart ones in that situation. But same, but yeah, man, we didn't even really talk a whole lot of football. We talked about football. We didn't dive into the X's and O's because I tell you this, and I still believe this. You know, I learned a lot of lessons that year being a football coach, being a head football coach. But the one I don't regret is, you know, you got to let people work. And I think it's more important to hit it off with somebody personally and, you know, figure out how they think about football. And then Absolutely. I think all that scheme stuff kind of takes care of itself because you're going to tell really quick if a guy's an idiot or not based on a regular conversation, you know, and I say idiot, but I
tell people all the time, it's all about relationships, no matter what you're doing, even between coaches. If the coaches don't get along well, they're not going to game plan very well. They're not going to put together that winning formula with that team. So again, those relationships matter more so than all of them, in my opinion. Absolutely. I spend more time with coaches than I do my own family.
Right. And I mean, hell, dude. You know, I knew pretty quickly. It's like, well, when I figure out how a guy could think about the game and explain the game, and we're not necessarily whiteboarding or doing anything. I'm not looking at a physical playbook or anything like that, which is a lot of what we're going to do today. Mm-hmm. You know, you learn a lot about, again, how somebody thinks about the game, how they teach the game. Because if it's just me and you talking, I mean, unless you're drawn on a napkin, which I've been part of those conversations with people before, but I mean, you find out how they teach, how they talk, how they relate, how they, you know, just generally behave in an interpersonal interaction, which, like you said, it's a game of relationships. you know, whether it's you and players, you and coaches, you and admin, you and community, you and the teachers in the building. But yeah, that'd be a hell of a story about all of the above. So I'll let you pick the topic. Okay, I'll let you pick the topic for today. You know, last time I was here, I had my buddy Hawkins on, and we talked a little defensive structure. How do you organize practice, organize individual? We didn't do a ton of scheme. But today we might dive in a little bit more. Go ahead and tell us about it.
So it's the modern day triple option, all about utilizing space and leverage. So in my mind, all that means is we're taking those old school veer rules and we're leveraging the space, making the defense wrong. The difference now is we don't veer block things. We block power, or we block zone, or we block counter. And that pitch option relationship is now a throw that's 5 yards out of bounds, or it's pop pass to a tight end, or we're throwing a 7-yard glance route, all about where the triple option defender is. So, like I said, it's all about maintaining space and leverage in my mind. But the game hadn't changed in 100 years. There's a reason we still do the same things. We just call it something different and we make it look a little bit prettier. We get in a shotgun. They didn't do that 150 years ago.
What's funny about that, man, is that, you know, you talk to people, and it's really it might be the fans in the stands. It might be, you know, people that make decisions, unfortunately. But you talk to people and it's always hey, don't run the same play over and over again, or why can't we do it like we used to, or why can't I give you a great example? When I was at South Lafourche, all those people played for the same coach because he was there almost 40 years, Ralph Perry. They named the field after him. Well, we were still in a spread offense. And then next year we went to a flex bone offense. Well,
make me excited over here.
I know when all the chirping started happening, and you know, I'm sure Blake could correct me on some of this, but when all the chirping started happening, it's, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Why, you know, back when Coach Perry was here, we did it this way, we did it that way. And obviously, like you said, game ain't changed in 100 years. So 40 years ago when Coach Perry was there and they were running dive and they were running G and they were running trap and they were running, you know, things that I guess we call today, that's wing T principles, but they show up in a variety of offenses now. The people that don't know, to the untrained eye, they don't realize that all of this stuff is still kind of the same. It's just morphed a little bit, but it's still the same principles. And all we're trying to do, you know, when you're in these spread out sets, space and leverage.
I focus 100% of my time and thoughts when I'm just brainstorming things about space and leverage and how I can make a 15 to 19-year-old kid wrong. I'll be honest, coaches have to teach a whole bunch and we got to get kids to do things. I don't get to go do anything. You don't get to defend anything. You have to trust your 18-year-old kid over there to do it. I'm not having to beat you. I have to beat an 18-year-old.
No doubt.
I feel like we got the upper hand as coaches on that.
It's like when you hear talking heads talk on the NFL or whatever. It's like this quarterback versus this quarterback. Well, that quarterback don't play defense.
They never get on the field at the same time.
No, and it's this coach versus this coach in high school, but not really. You could have two legends go up against each other, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, those dudes out there who got their guys to more prepared to execute, and then at that point, like it comes down to players, but that's a different conversation. But it's who gets their kids ready.
How do you teach it? If you can teach it easily and they remember it, well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to play fast. They're not going to be thinking. They're just going to be doing what's instinctually in them, because as a teacher, all of us coaches are teachers. Those that teach best usually are better off, right? It's not one of these things where, the best dudes always win. Well, the best dudes that are taught the best practices usually do. That's what matters the most. So, like you were talking about seeing somebody writing on a napkin. I may not see how they teach or those kind of things, but walk out on the field with them, and how does he teach a corner route? How does he teach that 5-yard hitch? Are we teaching footwork in the backfield a different way for a certain reason? That's why the best teachers generally are the better coaches in this world. And I tell everybody, and most teachers would disagree with me, that the best teachers in the world are coaches.
So they feel shocked whenever,
Oh yeah.
you know, a coach gets a good score or a coach gets, let me tell you something. And I'll tell you this as a classroom teacher, and I don't care. I've seen this maybe once or twice from a classroom teacher because, you know, their SLT was tied to elite test or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the success of the entire group mattered more often than not in the classroom. The success of the entire group really isn't the goal, you know, because you're managing so many other things. And in football, you are too. But in football, you got to manage those other situations. And all of these dudes have to be in unison, coherent, taught, and go out and actually do it. And it matters because wins and losses are on the line. There ain't no W's and L's in the, I mean,
goal line.
Right. I mean, look, there's some W's and L's in the classroom too, but not in the sense of it there can't be anybody left behind on the football field. You know what I mean? And sometimes in the classroom, you know, based on behavior and, you know, not getting to an educational discussion, but there's some situations where, you know what, you punt and you teach the kids that want to be there. But anyway, so before we dive into this, because I'm excited because obviously you're an offensive guru and I'm just a stupid defensive coach. So part of what I like to do here, and especially when I'm talking to my friends, I like, you know, giving them an outlet to kind of show off their knowledge and explain their story and kind of show their background a little bit and hopefully expand their network, expand all of our networks, because as Coach Rollins would say, your network is tied to your net worth, even though there's no money in high school football. But the moral of that story is, you know, better jobs hopefully equal better perks and better situations. So Coach Reeves, tell us a little bit about your background before we jump into the scheme.
Well, I come from a household that had a bunch of educators in it. My dad was a teacher. He was a coach. My stepmom was a teacher. So I get to college. It's one of these times you got to figure out what you want to do with your life, right? So, hey, I like ball, baseball, football, basketball, you name it. I liked it. So I would tell I went to my dad. He was a coach. What do I have to do to be like you? He's like, you don't want to be like me. I should have listened. I digress. So he ends up telling me you're going to get a degree in something you can teach. So I figure that out. I go about it. I start coaching in North Louisiana at a little small school called Riverfield Academy. Very few people know about it because if you blink, it didn't exist. So a few years there, I'm there. I end up moving back down to Baton Rouge and end up at Catholic High as the running backs coach. And I learned a wealth of knowledge. My first stop at Riverfield, I hooked up with a very old coach. He was 77 years old then, Joe Meeks. When I got to Catholic High, I got to link up with Coach Dale Weiner. So I had two really good mentors early on, both very offensive-minded guys, gave me every opportunity to learn. They never walked into a room and were the smartest guy in the room, self-proclaimed. Mm-hmm. They would listen to everybody. So that was the biggest thing I learned with them is listening and learning. When you got guys like that, it's a whole lot better to listen to what they have to say because I don't know nothing. To this day, I don't know half of what they forgot. So was there for a while. Ended up at Catholic Point Computer for a couple years. I was at Bruley. I've made 2 stops at Denham Springs, so been there a few times.
You need an extra helmet.
Exactly. I need another helmet. So from there I was at Springfield, ended up at Central from there. That's where I got to meet Coach Sid Edwards, Mayor Sid Edwards. I'm sorry.
Mayor Coach Sid.
Mayor. So I got to link up with him there, then followed him to Estroma. We were doing God's work there. That was a fun time and really good athletes, and they needed football way more than football needed them. And we were trying to save a whole bunch of people. Still are to this day, I'm sure. That lovely year we had at the lawn, again, met lifelong friends, and it's forever going to be one of the better years of my career.
It's funny how that works, though.
It is. Tough times create tough people, and we went through toughness together. So, simple as that. And
like I said, one day we will tell that story.
Now. Oh, story time coming in episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, hopefully so. Having this baby in a couple of days. We'll see when episode 4 even comes out. But I want to talk real quick about the amount of stops and some of that stuff, man, because clearly I've been to a few myself, and every time. And don't get me wrong, there's the old saying about being fired, right? There's those who have been and those who will be.
Two types of us,
And
those that are and those who will.
there's only two types. But that's not always the case, So what kind of goes into those decisions about moving around, moving up, moving down? I mean, obviously maybe family situation, things like that.
Yeah, I've always looked at it from what's best for my family right now, for where my family's at and where it's going. I've always had to travel for work anyway. Everywhere I've always driven has been about 30-mile radius from my house. So it always was am I trying to better my career? Am I trying to do something better financially? We all know finances are something every family deals with. And as coaches, we don't make no money. So it doesn't really matter financially. So now it's who do you work with and who do you work for?
Yeah.
You got to enjoy the people you're with. And if you're not enjoying hanging out with them at work, well, you're not going to work very well together. So that always went into those decisions. The one that I always go back to is when I was at Catholic High. And Coach Weiner, he's like, you graduate, I've got you a teaching job. Well, as a math teacher at the time, that was the first time in Catholic High history that they didn't have a math opening. So he was like, we got to figure something out. But again, building those relationships, he helped find me a job, helped get me to the next stop, and again, got to build more relationships there. But the whole thing about that was, now are we trying to elevate where we're at? Again, I always tell people, be where your feet are, but you always have to listen to what other people have to say as well. Tell people all the time, I'm not looking for a job, but if somebody has the right opportunity, if it fits my family, that's something we'll have to entertain. Hey, something we'll have to do.
And I'll be honest, it's nice to be wanted.
Absolutely. Those phone calls are few and far between, but when they do come, they sure are nice. So, but no, I've been all over the world. Hey, you've been a whole bunch of places, but every place you pick something up, what to do, what not to do. You learn something and it goes into who you are. And as a coach, what you're made of is way more important than what you're out there saying to everybody, because everybody ends up seeing through what you really are anyway.
Absolutely. And kids are the best judge of people being fake. And it's it's one of the positives of being at multiple places, because you get to see the variety of what's out there, being exposed to different types of kids, different types of coaches, different types of coaching. You might pick up a mentor, you might, so it really gets to show you. And I'll give you an example. We were talking before we started recording about dudes. Everybody wants to coach the best guys and all that type of stuff. I'm a way better coach when I got good dudes. The make no mistake about it. Running backs at Catholic High, for example. I bet you were a great coach those years.
Well, I had two of them end up in the NFL, so I was a really good football coach at that point.
Ain't no doubt. But you also, sometimes you go places where, those guys aren't going to play in college, and they're not going past that, and they're going to learn a trade after they get out, and this is something they do, and it's fun for them, and they might be a good high school player. Like I said, you get to see the whole variety, and I think that humbles you, to where when you end up being part of a special team that, like I think we've all been a part of. I mean, hell, Denham with a really good year this year, and
well, we would have seen that Z the second time.
Man, y'all had some freaking players. Make no mistake, with 85 seniors, but
41. It's okay. Who's counting?
It's special when you get to be part of those teams, but you also get to be part of those coaching staffs. So what your role at Denham right now? You're quarterback's coach, and I mean that this is meant to kind of lead into our topic today. So we're going to talk a little bit about space and leverage and how the modern day triple option works. And something tells me, and not just because I've scouted y'all, but something tells me that your influence on that staff is being felt.
Well, we all hope that the decision makers are listening to us at all times. So that's a big deal. But no, I coach quarterbacks, and in my opinion, I wouldn't tell anybody else this, but it's just me and you, right?
Yep. And our 5 listeners, maybe 3,000 on a TikTok clip. It just depends. Depends how entertaining you are.
Hey, it's time to start telling jokes. Well, when it comes to positions, I think the most important position on a football field happens to be the quarterback. You can't start a play with or without him, and he makes every decision once the ball's snapped. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a defensive tackle do that. I've never seen a running back make all the decisions. His decision-making process is, in my opinion, the most important thing. I think there's gurus out there that can teach footwork. I think there's gurus that can teach throwing mechanics. I am just a regular old football coach that teaches you the basic footwork and the basic mechanics, and I teach you everything I possibly can between your ears, because guys that process information at a high level make decisions at a much faster clip. And we talked earlier, if you do things fast, you're playing more free and you're not thinking. If I can get a quarterback to not think, or the way I present it to him is to think like me. If he can think the way I think and he sees things the way I see things, it's just like if I were out there. Again, I'm not trying to beat the 45-year-old coach across the sideline. I'm trying to beat that 17-year-old kid. Well, now, if I can get my 17-year-old kid to think the way I do in my middle age, he's a whole lot better, and he gets to be faster and gets to play free and make plays. We were fortunate this past year that we had a very special group of offensive players and defensive players, but offensively specifically, just because I dealt with them every day. We had skilled guys that were all over the place, jumping off the charts, making plays. We had an offensive line that would get after you. They loved run blocking. They didn't mind pass blocking, but when it came down to run blocking and in today's modern day triple option, we just call it an RPO. They love run blocking power when we throw an out route. Really, they look back and like, really, you threw it again? But again, it comes down to the quarterback's decision-making abilities. And in my opinion, that's the most important thing and the biggest thing teaching-wise. With that being so important, I take a little pride in the fact that we had a pretty good quarterback that made a lot of really good decisions throughout the course of the year.
Well, I want to address something, too. You said, I never met a defensive tackle whose post-snap decision-making influences a game as much as a quarterback does. And you're absolutely right. Because again, when you're, we went to the semis this year, and on the way there, it wasn't easy because y'all were loaded, Central was loaded, obviously Ruston was loaded, and the conversation comes up like, okay, who there when you're game planning, and every staff has this conversation. Who are their best players, who we got to stop, who's this, who's that, and when the best players on a team are the guys who touch the ball. And look, they might have a 4-star in the middle. They might have the high school version of Aaron Donald in the middle. But at the end of the day, when the quarterback or the running back or somebody who is directly related to touching the football is the best player or up there and one of the guys you got to stop,
right?
That's way different as far as influencing the outcome of the game because they influence points on the board. I can throw away from a DB. I could run away from a defensive lineman. And I'm sure there's somebody out there who's going to see this and say, well, when Jeremy Hill played, running back and defensive end, but,
right.
For the sake of argument, right. But when the dude is the one directly could be handed the rock or is taking the snaps, totally different situation. So let's get into what we're going to talk about then. Like, so how is space and leverage part of what you do personally? Obviously, we're not giving up trade secrets, but like what you do personally and personal philosophy of, what goes into that from the homework point of view down to how you explain it and teach it to players and coaches.
So my biggest thought on space and leverage is I need the defense to move. If they can move, I can now tell you what they're going to do, because nobody moves somewhere and isn't going to end up there if I'm forcing them to move, if that makes sense. Let me be curt with it and be short about that. It's more about motion at that point. If I can give you some kind of pre-snap movement, you have to adjust to it. But a lot of people are motion guys that they just want to move you to a different spot on the ball and then they set up. I think motion should be sprint motion no matter where you go. You should always be running as fast as you possibly can into your motion because, well, that linebacker or that apex player or that safety who's responsible for you, well, now, oh no, I now have to chase him. If he's running fast, I should probably be running fast. I need to
create urgency.
Create urgency when, from my standpoint, my kids, I'm just running motion. That's all I'm doing. And you think he's getting the ball. The defender, whoever had, let's just say it's a high safety and y'all are screwing him down and you're rolling safeties and you're going to take the motion with him. Okay, so be it. We now know it's a middle field closed coverage and you've given me information that had we waited for the snap of the ball, now my quarterback has to figure it out on his own.
He's got to start deciphering that.
Correct. So now we've given him a sight picture that, oh, I've seen this before. I know what it looks like. That goes into your film study. And now, okay, Monday mornings, you're jumping into all the looks that you can get with your quarterbacks. And, hey, we've got X, Y, Z. If we get this motion, they do this, this, this. So we know exactly one of those three options. Every time we go motion, how are they handling that motion? And how they handle it tells you exactly who the force player is. It tells you where coverage zone drops are, depending on if it's zone or man. It gives you so much information, and the play hadn't started. Now
and you can find a way to boil it down and make pre-snap decisions based on what that showed you.
Correct. So we are now pre-snap RPOing a post-snap throw. So because you've moved, because we're sprinting again. We're not just walking motion. We're not just trying to go over there, set our feet. Because if we set our feet, well, defenses get to, let's get everybody right, moved around. Okay, everybody good? Snap football now. If we're sprinting to it, you're sprinting. We've created urgency for you to chase. If nobody chases, okay, now we know it's XYZ coverage, whatever we're happen to be going through. All while we have a run play going at the same time too. And because you've now moved, you're creating space that wasn't there originally because defenses want to give you ugly looks to make it look like things are covered pre-snap that are going to be there post-snap. Because no matter what you say, no matter what any defensive coach says, there's always holes in the defense. You're just trying to figure out which one you're okay with giving up this play. And that's why y'all change coverages and change looks and change fronts and change stunts. But our job on the other side is, okay, get you base, get you into something you are always okay with, but I'm making you make decisions, enforcing your rules. Again, if I can dictate you what rules are, I'm in better shape than you are.
I find offensive coaches, when they're game planning, are thinking best case scenario.
Oh, absolutely.
This is going to be open. That's going to be open, etc. Defensive coaches, when they're game planning, often lean to, okay, we're going to do it like this, but understand that the adjustment's going to come because, I don't know, so-and-so is isolated. So if they start taking advantage of the thing we're giving up, we're very negative, right? You know, and that's true of any staff. That's not a Zachary thing. That's an anywhere thing. You were thinking, okay, I know it's weak here, but I'm okay with this because maybe they don't do it a lot. Maybe that would require a player who we don't respect very much to, you know, play out of his league necessarily. So we're okay with that matchup. Defensive coaches are very negative when we're game planning. Offensive coaches are like, oh man, that's going to be open. If they give me this, that's going to be their ass. And it's so funny because there's a different mentality. Because I've coached on both sides, but there's a different mentality. I mean, you've been a defensive coordinator too. Am I on the right track?
That is true. I'm gonna be honest. From an offensive play calling, non-play calling, game planning situation, it's sunshine and rainbows. Everything's going to be beautiful because you've given me every look I can think of. Oh, I've got everything you can do. This works, this works, this works. From a defensive standpoint, calling it those couple of years I did that I'm chasing ghosts nonstop, trying to figure out what could you possibly do to beat me, because I know what I would do to me, so I know you've got to figure out what you would do to me. So
the cliche of the week here, and this one's for Coach Zito. I give him a shout out on every episode because I know he listens to it. He says I'm talking too many cliches, but the cliche of the week is chase rabbits, not ghosts, because rabbits are real, ghosts are not.
Amen.
So, Matthew Zito, that one's for you, my friend.
Going in the book now. Chase rabbits.
It's got to. It's got to. So, talk to me a little more about this. In as much specifics or as many. Sorry, bad grammar. Your wife's an English teacher. In as many specifics as you would like. Modern day triple. Obviously the throw is the pitch. And I know how teams like to take it away. They might buzz a safety to the pitch player. They might man the pitch player. They might just play man across the board and say, I dare you, put the ball in the air because you're the one who taught me this. 3 things happen when you put the ball in the air and 2 of them are bad.
Amen.
So talk to me a little bit about that. Like talk to me about modern day triple. What do you see? What do you see? How do you attack? And what goes into that?
So, like you said, throwing the football is dangerous. 3 things can happen. 2 of them are bad. That is as true as it gets. And that's why passing hasn't been proliferate for the entire history of the game. But the way I look at the modern day triple is that's not a pass. That's a pitch. And
it's a long handoff.
It's a long handoff, but it's safe as well. In veer rules, we dive the back, we take the quarterback off the edge, and we pitch to the back. Okay, everybody knows the rules, everybody's good with it. Well, when you pitch it to the back, he can drop it. And I've seen far too many teams lose games because they're just running their base offense, running the veer, and they pitch it. It ends up on the ground, and they can't run the clock out. Well, now our pitch option is the safest option because if it's dropped, now it's an incomplete pass. The clock even stopped. We get to do the next play without the clock restraints. Even better. So again, the way we rep our throws like that, those aren't just drop back throws. Those aren't throws where we expect somebody to read a defense. It's not one. It's one of those that we have a key player, a trigger player, so to speak. If he does this, we do this. If he does this, we do this. We're going where he's not. He is going to be wrong no matter what. So when we teach RPO drills, okay, it's something I know at Denham Springs, we do it every day. It's a everyday drill that we get together as a group with the entire skill set of offense. And we go through the mesh point with the running backs. It may be a give, it may be a pull. But no matter what, we are running that mesh point. We are meshing with the back. We may give it, we may not. But the whole key is our quarterback's eyes are on his key defender. Whoever that trigger man is, whatever he does, we're going to make him wrong. So again, from a teaching standpoint, that is the biggest and most important thing. And the way I make sure I can control it is I'm generally the trigger man. I'm the guy that they have to make wrong. And again, back to those relationships. Because you build that core relationship with those guys, they don't want to disappoint you. They don't know that in the back of their head, but they want to make sure you're right and they're right in that drill in front of all their buddies. So,
well, Coach, like I've seen the drill. I mean, we did it at Woodlawn. Like you're standing there. I used it for your little graphic.
Yes, you did.
You're standing there, and I mean, think about it. You're training. It's no different than a defensive coach stands behind the offense. A lot of us DB coaches like to play middle of the field closed.
Hate y'all.
But in reality, sometimes the better, depending on what you're trying to teach, the better angles behind the offense. Because in your situation, you're the trigger player, you're the key for them. Well, let's say you're just standing in the apex. Well, you see their eyes and you see their decision. You don't need to stand in his ear, in his pocket, because that's not even the prime time place.
I don't need to see what he sees. I need to see exactly what he's looking for.
Well, and you could dictate it from the standpoint of you dictate the look now. So now you could put him in a disadvantaged position. You could put him you could be a guy who hesitates. You could be coverage to action. You could be somebody who hauls ass downhill. You could just drop into coverage. So I that right there, that's an example too of drill work ain't got to be reinventing the wheel.
Right.
I probably need to beat
like you said there though.
On this thing.
Defensive coaches, y'all chase like ghost and all that, and y'all are trying to defend what you're going to beat me. That's how I treat the RPO drill. I am the defender that's going to do everything to screw him up. If I can make him make mistakes on a Tuesday, well, he's going to be a whole lot better learning from it on Wednesday, Thursday, and especially on Friday.
So again, fix it on a Tuesday.
Right. I'm giving him the worst case possible. This is what'll give us problems. And he understands very quickly, like, okay, when they do this, I understand now. Heck, again, we had really special players this past year. I went over cover 2 palms with our quarterback in June during 7-on-7. He looked at me and said, okay, cool. I'll never get beat again. And again, to this day, he hadn't thrown another pick to a hard corner over there sitting there playing palms.
He's an intelligent kid, man.
Helps.
He's an intelligent kid. You could say he's an intelligent kid. You could tell by the way he plays the game. So with these RPOs, man, and so when I was working in the Bayou region, this has kind of been a theme the last couple of, last episode was kind of a theme me and Bill talked about because he's from Northeast Mississippi, and he's only ever coached in the southern part of Louisiana. But we talked about, but he's at Destrehan, so they went up north and traveled 3 times back in 24 on a semifinal run. They had to go up north 3 times, and football's just played differently in different pockets of the state on all 3 phases. But I know when I was in the Bayou region, and look, I moved to Baton Rouge 7 years ago. I spent 7 years in the Bayou region, so I've been 14 total. And maybe some of the RPO game, I don't want to say it was newer back then, but you saw it was starting to be fashionable. You know, Dan Mullen with Dak Prescott and Gus Malzahn, Cam Newton, Chip Kelly, a lot of zone principles. And there was, so you started seeing what people consider to be the spread, around that time. We saw a ton of RPO with a bubble, simple zone with a bubble, zone, bubble, zone, bubble. Well, I think people started figuring out you could just kind of top down that and screw the bubble.
Correct.
To coin a phrase from another person I worked with, you could play the run with your eyes and the pass with your body. Meaning you could show that presence and you could be slow because I could tackle the bubble because it's a negative route. Right. I moved up here. I didn't really see a ton of RPO bubbles anymore. I saw the RPO slant. Now you're making the inside backer or the C-gap backer, depending on what you're playing. You're making a guy who's typically really run first a lot of the time. Now he's in conflict. Okay, so talk to me about that evolution. And then then the last few years, you see the glance, right? So what's that evolution like? I mean, I know I've seen it just in different pockets of the state. Is it just kind of as things evolve? Is it where you are? What contributed to that?
Is everybody went to the zone read with the bubble. That was truly triple because, again, a negative route. If you'll chase it, okay, now the quarterback can take off and run. That's not how anybody ever played it. They ended up bringing that safety, take that, and it was hit in the face. So people then said, okay, if you're going to roll to it and you're going to play him, we're now going to replace him. That's where your slant came in. The modern day of that was very, very much, we're going in and we're going out, and now we're crisscrossing. How are you going to play? You're going to give me inside leverage by your apex player? You're going to give me outside leverage. What are you doing from the top down on it? How are you getting that force player, that extra body, into our run fit? Well, because that bubble is part of the run, it just happens to be a wide run. It's a perimeter run. I tell people nonstop, football is designed to be played, like I said, with space. The football field's 53 1/3 yards wide. Why don't we use all 53 1/3? If I've got to make you defend 53 1/3 yards and you have 11 guys to do it, well, it's not very much. That's a whole lot of space for one guy to handle. And y'all are doing it from different levels. So now,
that's right.
That bubble, that's a negative route. Okay, now you have your slant. So we've gone out, we've gone in. Then people started running just little seam routes. Okay, we'll look right there and we'll take the 6-yard seam right where that apex player let us free release to. Then it evolved even further into that. So now, okay, everybody's handling everything with first and second level players. And now we can throw the bubble to slant. But now you got to bring a safety into the fit. Once you get that safety down into the fit, now we can read him. As soon as he's now moving in the fit, you run that glance RPO right where he left from. But again, that boils back to winning one-on-ones. If you can't win one-on-ones, what are we doing anyway? Now, it's not foolproof. When it comes to one-on-ones, that corner's expecting to have safety help. That's why the glance is so deadly, because you're running that little quick 7-step slant, not slant, post route, but it is skinny. All you're trying to do is win inside leverage. As soon as you win inside leverage, now the quarterback has the option to put the ball wherever he needs it to be, vertically, shorter, flatter, all based off of how that safety is coming down, wide, whatever it happens to be. He's opening a window. And that glance route, the biggest evolution, I think, in modern day football is RPO in the third level. When you can read a third level defender, it makes it very difficult for defensive coaches to understand, not to understand, but to figure out why and where and how to fix the fit. Because that guy's coming down for a reason. He's in the run.
There's an aversion. I think there's an aversion with a lot of defensive coaches to, because at the high school level, I mean, we don't get to pick our guys. I mean, there's an aversion, and myself included, of playing a lot of man-to-man.
Yeah.
You know, you sprinkle it in, you know, where it needs to be. And I'm guilty of wanting to play more man a lot of times, just because that's a philosophical thing. But, you know,
Coach said he would play man every down if he could.
I think a lot of us would, because, I mean, that solves a lot of problems. I watched Edna Carr and Warren Easton play in a state championship game, and it was 7-man boxes, and I got you, and I got you. But, you know, I find there's an aversion to playing man because of matchups in high school. You know, if you got a really good guy out there that is prone to running that glance based on your film study, and you ain't got a whole lot of faith in that corner without any help, well, now, to me, you made yourself susceptible. You know,
I just got 7-man box is what I got.
Absolutely.
Against a single even. But if we can get down into 6,
as a defensive coach, if I could get my corners, of all people, if my corners could play man, that solves a lot of problems, because I've shrunk the field now.
Correct.
You know, I would love for everybody to be able to play some man, but that's not realistic. But if I can get corners to do it, like you said, it hopefully could kill that third level RPO. But also, I take away space. I shrink the field, which is, you're trying to expand it. I'm trying to shrink it. And I mean, the guys who predated you at Denham, the guy who shall not be named, Mr. Fournier, would know who that is. But man, I mean, he was mimicking who runs it in college now, Tennessee, Heupel. You know, he was putting wide stacks, and I mean, he was running a variety of things because he came, you know, from a background with a lot of variety. But some of those wide stacks you're starting to see now, and that, talk about creating space. How far out you put the apex defender?
Right.
No,
that's the whole thing.
You forced me to play basketball out there. I'm 2-on-2.
Go play a box and one, right? Doesn't work as well in football.
No.
And like we talked game plan wise, offensive coaches, we are sunshine and rainbows, because we draw everything against a too high structure, and you're always going to be -1 in the box. And hey, I'm good when it comes to that point. Well, like you said, that's not how Friday night turns out. As soon as those safeties are now not too high, you start rolling them down. You start getting late movement. Now you're giving the quarterback, again, who I'm trying to get to think like we do, you're giving him a different sight picture. That sight picture now changes. We have coaches, we have to figure out what can we do to exploit that new sight picture for him. And again, that safety screaming down to be a D-gap player, the force player, or heck, let him be the C-gap player if you want to play wide with the apex. It's not one of those, it's not an issue for us now, because you've now vacated space. So from a quarterback standpoint and what we teach, if we have people, we're trying to allocate space to certain people. As soon as those defenders vacate that space, we have to know in our head that, oh, there's something that's supposed to be there. And that's where the ball needs to be delivered now. But again, we don't give our quarterbacks, for the most part, multiple things to look at when it comes to RPOs. Their eyes are on the trigger man. And as soon as he triggers, we're making our decision. If he doesn't, well, we have a good run play called anyway that we're now +1 in the box on. because we've RPO'd that third level defender or that apex player, whoever it happened to be there. But again, it's all down to that guy making the decision post snap. If we can clear up his picture pre snap for him, it makes his life a whole lot easier. And in turn, makes my life a whole lot easier because I'm not getting yelled at for him making bad decisions.
I'll tell you this, and it goes, I guess it piggybacks on the third level RPO. I mean, to me, one of the more dangerous, even now, you've been seeing it a while, but to me, one of the more dangerous things an offense can do, or one of the things as a defense you got to prepare for is, well, what if they run the pop?
Absolutely.
The pop pass, in my opinion, is gnarly because it slows down your high safety.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It forces, like, because again, you know, whether you're a freeze player or a coverage to action or whatever different ways people coach up defending the RPO out of a zone look.
Right.
You know, we've talked about this when we were at Woodlawn, you know, and having to cap the tight end, have a guy take him out and have a guy to have him up. You know, I've seen people try to play the tight end because of whether it be heavy formations or a variety of looks or whatever the case, trying to play the tight end with a second level defender, man to man. Well, right. That's a hard way to go. Yeah, that's a hard way to go because how do you take him vertical?
Vertical is still vertical, and that's not if you have a good tight end, which depending on the year we do and don't. We have a really good.
I just think it's so easy to freeze an inside linebacker.
Yes. A little bit of token fake. He has to respect it. Sorry, he's not covering vertical now. One step with a guy running forward versus a guy that has to turn and bail. He's playing catch up from the word go. And if you happen to say you're in a trade look and you got tight end trips out there, are you putting the apex player close to the tight end? You put the safety wide? How are you handling him up and out in all those different ways? Because again, you can RPO it so many different ways. The way I look at Trey at tight end trips is there are 3 people that have to be responsible for the tight end because there's so much he can do from that. Oh, and if he can wash it, now he's creating an edge. So
he creates an extra gap. He can go out. He can go up. I mean, to me, a formation, and I'm probably sharing too much about myself, but I don't care because there's film on everything I've ever done.
Right.
And I'll send it to you. You know what I'm saying? But
just ask.
Well, you know, when you get into double tight looks, because you want to have bodies down there to play the gaps, obviously. You know, do you keep 2 high safeties to cap them both? But based on flow, one of them's going to have to fit because you're a gap short.
Correct.
Do you play single high? And he's an alley defender still, but he's got to be slow because he's got to read quarterback's eyes to see where that pop is, if there is one. You know, you're seeing a lot of teams talk about old school and modern day and all this stuff. You're seeing a lot of teams figure out ways to play big man ball for that reason.
Correct.
Because you gotta have a package for it. You gotta be prepared for it. It might not be base offense, but to me, you gotta carry a big man package for that reason. Because now the defensive coordinator is, and it could be as simple as this. Like I'll say this at Zachary, we see so many different formations all year. I think we adjust really well to variety. I think we do. You know, I've been at schools where we only see the same type of formations every week, and then you get somebody that throws you that curveball that's not their base. It's just an adjustment you have to make, and it's like crap. That's not something we see very often. So now it's got to spend extra time on it. You know, what's old is new again in a lot of ways, but big man balls coming back, you see.
It's like the people that don't defend the wing T ever, and then they run up against the wing T, and it's like, oh, this is different than what I thought it was. Because now they're running buck and belly and G and all that at you. And it's like, we did not simulate this, and you can't replicate those kind of things. So those things that are old, they become new. I was thinking about it earlier when you said wing T principles. I've never coached the wing T in my entire career. Never. Not once. We've never gotten into a wing with a broken T in the backfield and called buck sweep. But everything I philosophically believe is wing T oriented. Like, we're going to run pin and pull. We're going to run G. Like, those things are important. And the biggest thing in the whole wing T philosophy is the if then. thought process. If they do this, then we do. There's an answer for things. So again, like we talked about earlier with who the trigger player is, it moves around depending on who is the guy that the defense is using to fix things. So whoever y'all's fixer is, whoever your adjuster is, whoever makes your formation right and handles motion, that then becomes our, if that guy is it, then we do this. And there's different things. If he's screwing down, if he's rolling deep, if he's carrying two vertical, whatever it happens to be, there's always an answer built into what you do, whether it's a speed out from two, whether it's a tunnel screen by one where you're reading the number two defender, or whatever it happens to be like that. If the trigger man does this, these are our three answers, or whatever our list happens to be. And kind of like that third level RPO, that has to be one of them in today's age of football, where people try to live in two high structures. And even if they're not going to be a two high middle field open team, they're going to start there just so that you don't know. You're trying to confuse an 18-year-old kid that what he's seeing isn't actually there.
Right.
So, like I said, that's my big takeaway on the way today's modern triple option has become all about who is the guy that's making the play. Who, if the 9 tech makes the play, we do this now. We bypass. Those are the wing T rules, right? Now, if the free safety screws down, okay, we throw the glance behind his head.
Okay.
If the
gap down backer is gap down backer in the wing T.
Oh, absolutely. Gap down backer is, I don't think anybody will ever disagree. That's the greatest blocking scheme ever.
And no doubt. I tell you this, dude, I played in a wing T, and I wasn't really an offensive player, but I have enough of a working knowledge because we defended it when I was at South. And I don't think, and you've seen it a couple places, Plaquemine years ago and Chalmette, I want to say.
Chalmette still doesn't. They did it to us in the spring game this past year.
I was going to say, like, you don't really see a ton of teams. Everybody's tried to bastardize the option and modernize it. Nobody's really tried to do that with the wing T. Like I said, Chalmette, has gotten pretty good. They've done that for a while now. But nobody's updated that out the gun. Nobody's kind of modernized that, which I think is crazy because that in a game where everything is just kind of stolen and tweaked and poked and prodded, that's the one thing you really don't see a ton of.
I think it's because wing T guys are willingly going to give away anything they know. Like they'll give you everything they can possibly think of, and you still don't know how to run it because it's something that you have to have ingrained in you and that you have to truly believe in it. I tell people all the time, you can't dabble in the option. You either are a veer team or you're not. There's no way that you can say, let's come out and run inside veer. Well, have you been reading inside veer every day, all day long? No. That kid isn't going to make the right decision. Simple as that.
Let me ask you this question. So that same thought process, and I know you know where I'm going with this, spread teams that run speed option. I can't tell you how many chalk wars I've gotten in the office over the years of, well, what if they run speed option? And I'm like, do they practice pitching that ball every day?
So I have a follow-up question for you instead.
Go ahead.
What was the very first quarterback drill, everyday drill that I did at Woodlawn? Every day.
Pitch to speed.
All we did was we got 5 yards apart and we pitched with our right hand, came back, pitched
the baby, pitched it
every day.
Out.
And we never installed any type of mesh pitch, no triple option like that. All it was for is for when some defensive coach says, oh, they'll never run speed option to away from into a boundary. Yes, I will. And again, it takes 2 minutes. You teach the kid how to pitch it, then you work it every day. Whether you intend on running speed option or not, it's in your arsenal. Because again, say we're a trip split and you're handling 2, you're apexing for 3, you've got a high safety over the top, you've got a middle of the field safety as well.
You got a soft weak side edge.
But there's a soft edge over there. And I'm sorry, I can run counter at it. I can run, but I'm pulling people. And that's bringing more to the party. Why don't I just zone away from it, run at the end, pitch off of him? Who's tackling the ball carrier now? There's nobody there. You're a man sport because you've handled everything else we do to the field. So
and you don't see enough teams do that. And also, I think it's because they just don't work the pitch. They're not confident in that. And that's my opinion. Nobody's ever told me that's why they don't run it. But in my opinion, I think that's why, because I wouldn't run it.
Correct.
I wouldn't do it. But if I was like you, I don't care if it's 2 minutes. We're pitching this ball every day just in case we want to dabble. Because to me, you can't dabble unless you work it.
I hate speed option, actually. I think speed option is one of the worst plays in modern football. Like, it is not. But again, I watched LSU run speed option into a boundary for a long time with Les Miles. So
yeah, that's stupid.
Those were nightmares, I know, for all y'all LSU fans. But again, it has a place, and you steal 2 minutes here, teaching them how to pitch it. Now, all you got to do is run speed option once, and now all those defensive coaches, we got to keep a guy backside. What if they do run it again? We got to keep a guy backside. Well, now you're a man short to the front side, and I get to do what I want to do. I don't want to run speed option, but if you give it to me, let's take it.
So then you might see guys jump into more odd and keep more second level defenders to try to discourage that, and you start being able to manipulate real quick.
Correct.
So as we start to wind down here, I got a couple little rapid fire things I want you to answer. One I just thought of that is related to our topic here. Is Flexbone the bastard cousin of the wing tee?
No, it is not. The Flexbone is the
with the motion and some of the misdirection that's involved in it.
Is what it is.
Right.
I'm gonna let you know right now. Wing tee guys, you have to have a tight end. If you don't have a tight end, you can't run the wing tee. It doesn't exist because, well, from a non-wing tee guy, you have to have a tight end to have a wing. I'm good with that. But that slot stuff, all you're trying to do is beat everybody with speed out wide. That's not what the wing tee was intended to do. So I would say no, not the bastardization of the wing tee. It's just a bastardization of something else that is also crap.
Favorite coaching memory?
Or a few. Favorite. This goes way back in 2009. So I was a second year coach.
Graduated high school in 2009, by the way.
Oh, hey, go us. I could have coached you. Never thought about that until this day.
And you're only 2 years older than me in real life.
Exactly. So in 2009, we had a really good team. We were head and shoulders better than everybody, except for one. And we were going to see them in the semifinals. And I happened to come across some film with them. And they played a school out of Mississippi that ran a double wing set. And I'm like, hey, I love this. This is awesome. And they proceeded to march down the field on them. Boom, boom, run, superpower. Block everything down the front side, pull the guard, pull the tackle, kick with the fullback. Oh, the quarterback leads to superpower. So you're talking my language now. So coaching stealing, right? So within 7 days, we installed superpower. We didn't install nothing else. We installed superpower to the right, to the left. But we didn't install it with all of them. We only installed it with half of them. So we could flip it. Now we're really good at it. So we only had to teach half of them what they needed to know, right? So best coaching memory that week was we had fun installing it, doing something the kids had never done before. We were a spread team, but now we're putting multiple tight ends and wings and fullbacks on the field. The kids weren't really excited until the first play goes 70. So that's exciting. We then proceeded to eat up a whole lot of time on the clock. The
There's
rest
a whole
of
lot
the
of gaps over there.
Oh, there, and we brought 4 extra people too. So yeah,
long way to go.
So that night we ended up eating up 48 minutes. We probably held on to the ball for 37 of them. They then proceeded to score 21 points to our 14, and the best team in the state went on to win a state title, not us. But again, from a coaching standpoint, though, finding something that works and then being able to implement it within a short amount of time. I'm not a flavor of the week guy by any means, but getting the opportunity to put something in that really works and you're successful with it, it goes to show that even dumb young coaches know a few things.
I was going to say, well, oftentimes, the players dictate, you pick the percentage, 90% of the outcome, right? But it's cool. it's cool when we figure out like, hey, you know, we're able to help them find a way to be successful too. You know, we're there for some reason. Sometimes.
Don't ask their parents and don't ask people in the stands.
Especially not the ones drinking out of white cups.
Oh, those are my friends.
dumbest football coaching decision.
Dumbest football coaching decision. That's hard. I'm like a really smart guy, so I don't really make bad decisions, right?
Working in East Baton Rouge Parish. No.
I did that twice.
Same. Where's the other helmet? Okay, there it is.
It's up there somewhere. Dumbest coaching decision. I would say it's probably in a. I had to be pointed out to at one point. This is actually a Sid Edwards story. 3rd and long. That's passing down, right? Everybody and their mother knows you're throwing it. You're either throwing a screen, you're throwing a draw, you're throwing the ball deep down the field. I got in that mold too because, well, we're trying to convert, aren't we? No, we're trying to win a game. We're not trying to convert every 3rd and 57. We're trying to win.
The ball in danger.
There you go. And on that, well, who's the best player on the field? Well, it's the kid we got at tailback right now. Well, why don't we hand it to him? I can do that. He's like, why can't you? I would never get mad at you for giving the best player on the field the football in the most important situations. And I'm like, it blew my mind. Because in my world, well, we have to throw the ball to the sticks. We have to do something to get over on the defense, whether it's screen or draw. But the guy standing next to the quarterback, who is the best player in the yard, why don't we give it to him? So from that moment forward, I realized, well, let's just swing the back and he's going to go make all the work happen and I look like a genius from now on. So, stupid guy, listen to old folks and you learn a few things.
Hey, worst case scenario, you got to punt, but you put the ball in the best player's hands. So, hey, what if he mess around and gets it, you know?
The story on that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, please.
When we were at Estrema, we had a player by the name of Kyrie Paul. He's at Southeastern now.
Yeah, he was good at football.
He was good at football. Bad at football. I know that. He was really
definitely
good at
was
it.
not.
Fast as could be, best player in the field by far. Head and shoulders, everybody knew it.
He could have played anywhere.
Absolutely. He's going to do really well for himself. He decided that we needed to end practice with a 2-minute drill. Competitive, though. This was Kyrie's idea. I'm like, okay, I love it. Let's go. Well, Coach Edwards decides we're going to put you in the worst case possible. You're on the -5, no timeouts, 1:37. I'm like, okay, you sure? He looks at me, he's like, yeah, are you sure you're okay with that? I was like, you gave me 1:37. I have Kyrie. We're going to be fine. First play, Kyrie, all we do is we run off verticals and we free release the back to the right. Drop it to Kyrie. He catches about the 3-yard line. And 97 yards later, he's made 11 dudes miss, some of them multiple times. So that's what he said. We found the best guy in the field, gave him the football, and he makes everybody look good after that.
Coach, give me a hard one. That was easy. Like, give me something, give me one that's difficult. Favorite story from Woodlawn?
Oh, favorite story from Woodlawn.
Could be good or bad. It ain't got to be a positive memory, but favorite story.
Okay. I'm going to go to, I want to say it was week 5. And it may not have been week 5. It was somewhere middle to the end. Let's put it that way. And we're having a decent night. We're getting stops. Not really scoring a ton of points, so offense players are always pissy about that. But also all their parents are pissy about that. So you hear some chirping, all that kind of stuff. A player that we happened to have suspended that night, he didn't dress or anything, wanted to put his 2 cents out there. And no offense to players, but their 2 cents isn't warranted, especially when they've not earned the right to put their 2 cents in.
When they don't live right,
Bingo. So
I tend not to listen to their opinions.
He was suspended for a reason, so
yeah.
I'll let you be the judge whether his opinion mattered or not at that point. So this story goes bad quick, And that young man no longer dressed for us ever again because he then proceeded to let us know how intelligent he thought we were and proceeded to use many slurs and not okay for television, apparently. But he then went down that hole and never came back from it. In our eyes, from that, it's one of those that you cross the line and that line can't ever be unbroken.
No.
But welcome to the law, and that's what we dealt with for a year, and we were trying to change some culture. So not to change it, but change it for the better.
I'm not even kidding because I don't, I know we're not going to bury anybody, especially by name.
Correct.
But I think it would be a lot of fun to tell that story because it's kind of I don't know. I think people can relate to it. I think people would also think like, why in the hell did you go there? It's I've been asked that question before, but I'll be honest with you. I'll save it. I'll save the long version for that episode. But I think that, I still think I stand by that decision. I think that there was some potential there. I do, and nobody will convince me otherwise. And I think we both ended up better for it as a result, professionally, not just where we landed, but I think that we both got to learn a lot about ourselves, about the game, and about what things look like in different situations from going there. But man, I will open the floor. I will let you wrap this up. Man, this has been fun, but open forum, Coach Reeves.
Well,
final words.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and one, I love talking football anyway.
Yes.
So any chance I get to talk ball, I would jump at it. So the fact that you have this outlet that allows you just to talk to your buddies about football is amazing.
I wish I would have thought of it sooner.
I should have thought about it first. I'm just saying, coaching stealing. So, but no, I think this is awesome. I think what you're doing is cool as can be. But more importantly, it's even cooler because I get to do it with you right now. And again, we ain't done nothing really rough, tough, or any mind blowing stuff. We just talking ball. But no, I think this is the coolest thing. And any chance I can talk ball, especially with a friend, is always fun.
No doubt.
Today's modern triple option is one of the biggest precipices on my mind. I think it's one of those things that everybody needs to know more about because it's not going away. It's going to be here for the duration because it's not new. It's old school football with new school principles is all it boils down to. And the more you know about it, the more you can defend it, the more you can watch it and enjoy it, and the more you can teach it yourself. So I think that's one of the biggest things to go with.
This is how I know that me and you are tight because what you just said, I heard this quote related to something not even football related a couple of years ago, but you just rattled it off. Old school rules, new school tools. And I think if more people thought that way and you picked the topic about whatever part of the game, if more people thought that way, because basically what that means is we're not reinventing the wheel. Mm-hmm. We're gonna update it though. We're gonna think how it works nowadays. How does that thing fit in now? But man, it still boils down to fundamental and technique, old school rules, new school tools. Man, this has been a lot of fun. We're gonna have to do it again. But man, this has been the Coach's Classroom with Coach Reeves, Denham Springs High School. I'm Coach Pell.